Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. And actually, this session is a routine session that will be held every month on the last Friday of each month. And for this session, actually, we want to promote the writing skills, the writing ability, and how do we cope with the very important tasks of us, the routine tasks for academician. That is writing a paper, writing a manuscript, and having a publication. So I think this is very important for us to have, and we are so glad to have Daniel Opaki here with us. He is a master in English literacy, graduated from Massachusetts, and he has worked for many years to advise people all around the world to write, to build their writing skills. And he will be here in UGM for about 3 months, starting from September to December. Am I correct? Yeah. So this is a good opportunity to have him to advise us to write manuscript and to having higher skills, or better skills to write a manuscript and a paper. So we will have 2 sessions for today. The first session is the Daniel's session about the writing skills and how to have a successful submission to a journal. And the second session will be selecting a target journal. Yeah. So the first session, please, Daniel, have your session.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about mainly about proofreading and editing, and some style in your writing, and also some grammar. So today we'll be talking about mainly proofreading and self-editing. Okay, so what we hope to achieve with the workshop is to increase your knowledge of academic writing for publication, and to learn how to overcome obstacles that prevent productive writing, to learn techniques and methods of self-editing, and to improve grammar or written works and works in progress, and to promote success in submitting for publication. So first off, we will start with overcoming the fear of writing. This is something that I had spoken with Zucha yesterday, and we made some adjustments to the presentation based on the feedback I got from the faculty at the writing camp yesterday. So how many of you procrastinate with your writing? Only one. That's great, too. Okay, you admit that, right? Yeah. And so procrastination, I'll do it later because making excuses is easy. All right? There are different kinds of procrastination. Failure. I can't write well using English. Fear of failure. And being a perfectionist. My grammar is not good enough. So these are things and ideas that prevent us sometimes from producing writing. A busy life. I don't have enough time in the day to get anything done. And then time management. Scheduling time in your busy day, in your busy schedule for you to write. Are you sure? So, what is procrastination? Well, we'll talk about that later. Okay? There's a good example for you. Procrastination includes fear of failure. So, look at failure as a learning opportunity, not a dead end. We were talking earlier about your submissions, and you mentioned that your first publication was rejected 2 times, right? And I asked, how do you feel about that? And your reply was, more work, right? So the rejection for submissions does require for you to work more, but also it's a learning opportunity for you to improve your English. So when you get your submission back, there are normally suggestions and what the editor or publisher would like you to do or what they would like to see. So is it a fear of failure or sometimes a fear of success. Sometimes success requires new responsibility. When you finish a project, you feel like there's a vacuum or a void in front of you because you've been working so hard for a long time, maybe more than a year, and then all of a sudden it's over. So sometimes it's fear of success that drives us to procrastinate. And these things are in the way of us to move on and to accept the next challenge. So the perfectionist, my English isn't good enough. So writing perfectly takes practice. And that's why we plan and pre-write and proofread, edit, rewrite until we think it's perfect. And sometimes we say, I don't like my own writing, right? And you think, I don't sound smart. I know what I'm trying to say, but it's difficult in English. So these are normal fears that everybody has when they're writing in English language. So that when your English is not your first language, and some of you, I think it's your third or fourth language. So these are things that we need to think about when you're considering, do I want to work today or not? Can I plan some time for myself to produce writing today or not? Why is that you decide not to? So think about that. Too busy to write. With readjusting your schedule, you can find time. So how do you readjust your schedule? How many of you keep a planner, a day planner, or use one on your computer, on your laptop? Okay. What do you like about it? So how many times during the day do you have free time? How many times during the day do you have 30 minutes? Yeah, more than once, right? If you add up all your free time. One thing you can do if you do not use a planner, a day planner right now, is over the next week, try to keep notes about your day, your daily activity. And the discipline comes from doing the writing during those times. When you know that you're going to write, you're going to look forward to it. Right? If writing is a chore, then try to find a way to make it something you look forward to. If you know that at 2 o'clock every afternoon for about 20 to 25 minutes you have time to write, then eventually you're going to start getting into a rhythm, a daily routine, a habit of writing at 2 o'clock every day. And even if you write just a little bit, at least you're there making the effort to do it. And then once you start the habit of writing on a schedule, you can create another type of schedule. How much do I want to accomplish during the 25 minutes I have to write from 2 to 2:30? So there are lots of little tiny tasks in the day that you can work on because your body of work is pretty big and it includes a lot of research and it includes a lot of information that you're trying to translate from your native language into English. So instead of looking at this big chunk of work that you have to do, look at it in little chunks and try to take those little chunks and make victories out of them by accomplishing small things at a time. Eventually it adds up. Okay. All right, so that's one thing you can do regarding time management. Let's look at academic writing style, just briefly. I think a lot of you are already published, is that right? Yeah? Okay, so writing style. Try to use straightforward language. Avoid long, complicated sentences. Okay, how many of you realize that you have a compound sentence and you're not sure exactly where it's going or what it's saying because you have multiple ideas in one sentence? Okay, this is not uncommon. So look at the sentence, break it down, try to create one idea per sentence rather than trying to make a very long, complicated thought into one sentence with multiple ideas. But look at it in terms of one idea, one sentence, like that. It doesn't have to be really complicated, and it shouldn't be. It should be easy to understand and clearly written. And then you can begin working on your mechanics, your vocabulary, your grammar in the proofreading and editing phase. Okay, academic writing needs to be precise and clear to convey your meaning. Try not to use subjective language like excellent or good. Right? These are sort of like value statements. The reader, the editor that you're submitting to may not agree. Right? It leaves it open to explaining. If you don't explain why you think something is excellent or good, then you're making a statement that is more of an opinion, an observation. So your writing should be objective. Don't generalize. A phrase like many people agree, okay, when you start your paragraphs or sentences like this, then you have to identify who agrees. Where does this information come from? You can't just pull it down from thin air and say, a lot of people agree. Okay, then you need to find the starting point for your statement. And you can do that by using other signal words or direct paraphrase or quotation. Avoid using contractions. Okay, I'm sure you've been told this before, but these are habits that when we're writing, they sneak in there because you're thinking about other thoughts, and writing a contraction is easy. Okay, one more note on style. Avoid ambiguity. And that sometimes happens when you're writing compound sentences. Try not to be ambiguous. Be clear, be direct. Don't assume your reader understands your thinking. So when you're deep into your writing and your thoughts, and you know that the publication is from your discipline, and the person reading your submission will be from your discipline, will be familiar with what you're writing, don't assume that they know what you mean. You have to show it. You have to write it out. Okay, that's what the ambiguity, that's what that means. Don't leave anything open-ended like that. Okay, and elliptical sentences also lead to ambiguity. Again, leaving out critical information. We speak in elliptical sentences where you leave out information, but when you're writing, especially academic writing, it has to have all of the information included. Okay, formal versus informal usage. What is formal language? Formal language is objective. Okay. I believe that the issue of global warming will be the primary concern at the meeting. It's informal. The way to write it formally is, it is clear that the issue of global warming will be the primary concern at the meeting. The language choice, the words that you're using are objective. They're not opinionated. They're not your opinion. They don't reflect an opinion. Formal language focuses more on vocabulary choice. Again, the language of informal writing, the research assistant checked out the incident. And in a formal manner, the research assistant investigated the incident. So your word choice is different than in formal writing, informal writing. Okay, formal language makes use of the discipline-specific vocabulary. Words like germs, bacteria. Okay, you can see the examples. Germs grow well in a dirty and warm temperatures. Bacteria thrive in unhygienic and warm conditions. So these are the stylistic words in formal writing that you can get from a lot of manuals that will tell you the difference between formal and informal language. Okay, we had questions yesterday regarding emails and correspondence to or from publishers and editors. And considering your emails to or responding to journals or editors that reply to you, there are ways to write your email, and they need to be formal and professional. Rule of thumb is always to be formal. And when you send emails, you always add "Dear so-and-so" to your addressee. Never "Hi John," "Hi Jane," or "How are you?" like that. Starting an email, thank you for your email. So this is a thank you email. So these are ways to begin your email. Instead of saying thanks or anything, you begin by saying thank you for your email in different ways. Okay, introducing yourself. My name is, if they don't know you, if you're making a submission. Making reference, with reference to your email. In response to your email, with regards to your email. So someone has sent you an email or replied to you. Maybe they sent your submission back with suggestions. Then you want to thank that person, but keep it formal. Replying to a request. As you requested, then you can go into your information that you're supplying. An answer to your inquiry in as requested. If you're establishing context with your email, you can say, if it's a reference, your name was given to me by so-and-so. I believe your journal is perfectly suited for my submission if you're sending your inquiry. Okay? Why did you select that journal if you're sending out an email to someone for the first time? So you want to tell them how you heard about their journal or why, and the reason why you believe that journal is good for your work. Expressing thanks is another important part of a formal email, is how to express thanks in a proper way. I'm grateful, and thank you for your reply. Thank you for your advice. So if they're sending your submission back to you with some advice on revision, then be formal and thank them, and you can start your writing if you have questions after that. Choosing a signature when you sign your emails. Sincerely, kindly, warm regards, best regards, and sometimes best always works. All right, so let's talk about proofreading and self-editing. And this is actually the title of the workshop today. The information that we just went over was suggested that I cover that. So I hope it was good information for you and something new. And also, this PowerPoint will be provided to you so you can have it and the information in it. So proofreading and self-editing. How many of you proofread your own work? How many times do you read what you wrote? And proofreading is, there's a method to it. Do you do it all at one time? Do you proofread when you're finished your work? Do you proofread it all at one time? Do you sit down and read it, the whole thing? When you're proofreading, or also when you're writing, do you have an online dictionary that you use for your vocabulary? Yeah, it's important to do that when you're writing and also proofreading. If you have any questions about your own vocabulary, phrases, your choice of words, your grammar, you can look this up. There are ways to find out. If you're proofreading your work, that's an indication that maybe something's not right. So you need to stop and look at that. And a lot of writers do not. They think it's okay. Okay, I wrote it the first time, it must be okay. But if you're reading it and proofreading it the second or third time or fourth time, and you have a consistent problem with maybe your subject-verb agreement, okay? Maybe your word choice, maybe the idea is not clear as you read it in your proofreading and self-editing. Okay, when you self-edit, look for typos. Multiple typos and errors put you in a bad light if you submit it with a lot of mistakes that are easily fixed. Do not use only the auto spell and predictive spell on your computer. Your grammar checker in Word, they're not always right, and they miss a lot. There's a lot of words that they can't determine a difference. For example, weather and weather. Don't rely on them 100%. So keep a log of mistakes by category. So when you're proofreading your work, if you have a notebook with you handy, in that notebook, keep a log of your mistakes. If you have common mistakes that you make over and over, you're going to see a pattern of your mistakes that will help you in your writing. You'll be more aware of what you're writing and how you're writing it. So do that with subject-verb agreement and wordiness, and when you make compound sentences that are confusing to you, clutter words, unnecessary words, passive voice. So when you're writing in academic writing, you want it to be in active voice and in present tense. Read your text aloud and listen for mistakes. That's one thing that a lot of proofreaders don't do. If you read it aloud, you can hear your writing. Try using different font and text size, and read it with larger font, larger text size, or different font. Sometimes you'll notice mistakes. And these tasks are time-consuming, but they work. And if you take the time to do these things, you're going to find that your writing will improve, and overall, you'll be writing faster. Edit and proofreading help. So choose one or two paragraphs and read your text slowly, a line at a time. And when you start proofreading, if you start to get tired, stop. Don't force yourself to proofread, because when you're tired, you're going to miss things that you would normally pick up. Try to keep yourself fresh and clear. One method is to edit and revise every 2, 3, or 4 days. So when you give it a proofread, when you read your work, put it away for a couple of days, and then pick it up again later and read it again. Don't do it all at one time. So if you have the time, do it over a period of a week or 2 weeks. You can go through it 2 or 3 or 4 times, fresh, and looking for other issues that you come up with. So set goals to revise, even a half page or a whole page in one session. And after the first edit, again, put it away, relax, and return to your work. And as you self-edit, read each sentence slowly, carefully, aloud. Again, I'm saying this twice because that works. And read your writing. If sometimes it doesn't sound right, examine why. If the meaning isn't clear or unsure, examine why that is. And you'll find out, is the grammar correct? Did you hear yourself fumbling with your sentences as you spoke? Right, now when you're proofreading, you're going to eventually give it to a proofreader, so you have someone that you email your work to. When you're choosing a proofreader, it's good to give them instructions on what to do rather than give them the work and ask them to proofread it. If you're concerned about certain parts of your work, then make notes in it, make notes on it, and give them extra work to do. When someone proofreads your work, you want that person to give you some honest feedback. You want them to be able to tell you that the sentence doesn't make sense. There's a problem with the grammar. The word choice isn't right. You want them to tell this to you, to give you this information. No? You have to accept it. Okay, don't take it personally. It's not a personal matter. It's about your writing. If you take your car to the garage to be fixed, the mechanic tells you you have a lot of problems, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Yeah, it upsets you, but you need your car, so you get it fixed. All right, so how do you help the proofreader? You can make notes on the margins where you think you have a problem or where you have a question about maybe a sentence or a phrase or maybe the meaning. Okay, let's try some proofreading analysis. We're going to read some selections from an academic essay regarding English language and read the sentence and look for any ambiguous meaning, any grammar problems, any subject-verb agreement problems. Okay. All right, so can you see that clearly? Okay. So read that sentence and talk with your partner or person sitting next to you or the people in your group and discuss the sentence. Is it good as it is? Is there something you could do to make it better? Previous studies confirm that grammatical competence improves language productions in terms of accuracy. What about that sentence? What can you see there? What would you write differently? It's confusing, right? Yeah. Previous work, making a reference to previous work, right? So the verb is not in past tense, although previous studies confirmed, right? Or showed, or a lot of different ways you could say that. Okay, so getting feedback. Tell your proofreader what you want to know. Peter Elbow, who is a professional academic and teacher, wrote a book called Writing with Power and suggests that you write some questions for your proofreader and ask the proofreader to tell you how well is the writing organized, how effective is the language, are there mistakes in choice of usage, and what is the quality of the content and ideas. So if you can get feedback using these questions from a proofreader, then you'll have a lot of information about where your writing is going and if it's ready for you to submit. So don't be afraid of honest feedback. And without the sincere critique, again, how will you know what to think about your work? And try to use at least 2 or more proofreaders for feedback. Okay. We're about out of time as well, so I think we ended in a good spot. So what kind of questions do you have? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, for formal, I think, yeah, we use the passive, but sometimes like author or the researcher, something like that, so can we use the active things?
The author?
The author, I mean that the researcher done or we. Sometimes I also read in the journal that we conducted a focus group, for example, 3 times or yeah. So this is like active sentence.
Right, it's an active sentence. So you don't write like that?
Yeah, but sometimes it's confusing when I use the active or when I use the passive. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you notice that and you're not sure about it, that's something that you can note, and when you submit it or give it to your proofreader,
okay,
ask that question. Ask them to help you with that. So I guess your next speaker will come in, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak with you today.